Hello, and welcome to a new video. In this video, I'm not gonna talk about human design for a change, but I felt like sharing a little bit more about the mind. And for me, it's very interesting to be able to observe my mind and to see what is happening, to be able to reflect on my thoughts, and instead of attaching to my thoughts and beliefs, to create a little bit of distance, instead of becoming very clinged to them. And because of that, ending up in all kinds of stories about myself or about other people. And the past years have been very interesting in terms of the self-reflection I have been able to do, and I'm still doing that, but also creating that distance from the mental troubles or the mental chaos, if you want to call it that way, because the main problem I've experienced has been being caught up in my mind, and also the mental disturbance, and the main issue has not actually been my thoughts themselves or my beliefs themselves. They're just thoughts, they're just beliefs, they're just opinions, ideas. There's nothing wrong with that, and I cannot really control them. And the funny thing is that I see that a lot around me as well, and that's also has been my approach when I felt deeply lost, when I felt deeply attached to the monkey mind, to all the stories that I had, and that's what made me feel super restless, together with not being connected to my body, because I was so up here, living from the head and believing everything my mind was telling me about the world, about myself, about others. That's where the disturbance was, and that's where the restlessness came from. It wasn't necessarily the thoughts or the beliefs or the opinions themselves. So that's what I really find interesting to observe. And maybe if you are a little bit familiar with reflection, self-reflection, and maybe you've had some training in that, or maybe you've done meditation or other techniques that you're using, I really have found in my own process that it's not necessarily about getting rid of thinking or getting your mind to be quiet or have no thoughts, because that's not maybe that's not even possible for everyone. I cannot speak for you. I don't know what's going on in your mind, but at least for me, approaching this more gently, approaching this with curiosity instead of resistance or trying to get rid of something. And that doesn't necessarily only go for the mind. It's also for the body. It's how you approach it. That is what is doing the trick. And ever since I became more gentle and more curious and approaching everything in my life, but especially my thinking, my thoughts, my beliefs, with that intention, it has become more fun. And that has been giving me the ability to detach, to create some distance, and to actually see, hey, I am not my thinking. Because if I was, then who is watching the thinking? Who is the one who's observing the thinking? Who is the one that can reflect on that? Interesting. So if I can see my thoughts, if I can observe my emotions as well, if I can observe sensations within my body, if I can see that and feel that, then I'm not that. Then I'm the one who's watching that. Then I'm the one who's observing that. And of course, don't get me wrong, this for me, being at this place right now, and sometimes also getting lost in stories still, of course, hey, I'm human. But it has taken me years to be able to create some distance. So this is not, I don't want you to get your hopes up or get some expectation about, hey, if I do this and this and this and this, then there'll be this quick fix and then I'll be rid of my restlessness in my head. Because that's not necessarily what it's about. It is, for me, the real deal has been in taking a step back, pausing, looking, observing, watching. And that has become, because I've practiced that so many times, it has become fun to do. And one of the techniques that has helped me with this is the work of Byron Katie, and I'll put a link in below to so you can look up how that really works, and maybe I'll tap onto this method in another video. This is also what I've been using in my work, the work in my work. And it is a very practical thing. It's a very practical tool. It is easy to use, and yet at the same time it's so profound because it's kind of meditation, but not in a normal way of what you would expect when you talk about meditation. It's not just about closing your eyes and sitting. It is going to the deeper, at least that's how I experience it's going to a deeper layer within yourself with that curiosity and really, approaching your thoughts or your judgments with a sense of softness and really staying present, but also staying curious and approaching that with a childlike wonder, like, hey, this is what I'm thinking? Is that really true? Is it really, really true? That's the base of the work, to see whether something is really actually true. And the suffering happens because we believe that something is really true. At least with the stressful thinking, the stressful thoughts, the stressful beliefs. So it's also interesting to notice within yourself and maybe observe what is actually happening within your body, what is actually happening within your whole system when you are thinking something. What is that thought process, or what is that story doing within yourself? And then when you notice that maybe your heart is racing, or maybe you're feeling this angry or frustration bubbling up, or you notice that your breathing is becoming more shallow, or maybe you notice that your attention, your whole energy moves up to here, instead of more down below, more down in your body. Or maybe you even notice that your energy, your attention is going outward towards like everything around you, or it's becoming scattered instead of staying with you. And I've noticed that that's really something my thoughts, my mind can do, can take me away from, hey, what's happening here? It's taking me away from my body. So the mind is, it's really an interesting thing. And if I cannot not do it, but link it to human design. Of course, in human design, we're talking about the mind not being the decision maker. But that's how we use it. At least that's how I've been using it for a long time in my life. And still sometimes happens. But it's really interesting to see that if my mind is not, does not have to be concerned with making decisions for me, then there's nothing wrong with it either, right? I can just enjoy it and watch the thinking process happen. And whilst I'm following my strategy and authority of responding to whatever comes my way from out my sacral, from out my body, as a manifesting generator myself, then at the same time, I can train my mind to not get involved, not get lost in stories and making decisions from that. And for me, that needs to be this simultaneous approach, because it's like I have to train my mind to not get involved in the decision-making process. And not acting out of the stories. So it's not necessarily that the stories are the problem. They can be there. They change along the way while I'm in this whole process of transformation, in this whole process, this journey of moving back to my body. The thinking process, it changes. The stories change. And I no longer have to be attached to them. I no longer have to believe everything. And that's such a relief. It's an interesting process. And of course, I cannot speak for you. I don't know what's going on in your mind, but even if you can just pause for a moment and if you're just able to take a step back and watch what you were just thinking, or even what you're just saying, because a lot of what we're saying is obviously coming from somewhere. It's coming from somewhere in your mind. And for me, it has been so soothing in a way to not get rid of my thinking or my stories, or judge them, or be super harsh on them, or criticize them. And you probably know that critical voice in your head that always has an opinion, always has something to say, always has comments on what you should say, what you shouldn't say, that there's something wrong with you. And it can comment about everything, about yourself, about other people, even comments about its own thinking or about its own stories. And then you can get in all these loops and you really can get lost in the stories. which is such a waste of energy. And I know this because I've experienced it. And oh, yeah, it's such a waste of energy. And yet at the same time, while you're stuck in it, it can feel like you can't get out. And it can feel like you don't have any control over them. Which is true in a way. You cannot control what you think because, yeah, that's just a process that is happening in your brain, in your mind. But what you can do is become aware of what is happening and creating that space. So, yeah, that is really something that I love to do. That's something that I love to work with. And yeah, if you have a comment on this, if you would like to share something about your own process, or maybe you notice how stuck you can be in your mind, let me know in the comments if you feel like sharing about it. If you have any questions about the work, or if you would like me to explain a bit more about it, yeah, you can ask me about it also, so I can respond to your question. It feels okay. And yeah, see you in the next video.